Is the like how did you guys handle like housing crisis? Isn't that like a big thing?
I live in Fenway, so like not on campus.
Wait, I think it's Fenway Park.
Yeah, like I live 2 blocks away from Fenway Park. It's so
That's
sick.
sick.
Is that like the baseball school?
Yes.
He asked
What?
like question.
I don't care.
It
We sometimes like know words, but you don't actually know what they are. No, that's just not true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, here we go.
Here you are.
Oh, there I am.
Oh, no, we're starting around.
I'm not dead.
It's gonna be a performance. Oh. Sorry.
I can't joke about that. Yeah. Proceeds to read a performance. It's
Okay,
not a
are
performance.
you guys good for me to send? Wait, everyone got the test email, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
On an iPad.
Yeah, flow on iPad.
Well, on Zeke's iPad.
We'll be thrilled about that one. No, I'm sure.
Bro, there's no way Zeke watches the live stream.
Feel free to call Quinn. It'll be fast. Girl,
I did.
it's not him.
That's unfortunate. You put me on the email stream.
Oh, fun fact, I did. Okay.
Okay, so.
You can just hit
Just
reply all
let me when you
after.
add the doc.
I'll send it, yeah, I'll send it again. Okay,
I don't really need it, so you can start.
you guys got it? Okay.
No.
You guys
Yeah,
got it,
got
I
it.
assume?
No.
I got a test email.
That's just aside from like existential dread. I did not.
Wait, guys, this is gonna be a fine round. It's like educational.
It's really chill. That's right. I'm
What
not.
if it kills
I'm
my
not
brain
scared of
cells?
whatever you read.
Wait, what?
What if it kills my brain cells, cause I just don't understand?
I'm
So
really
then-
sorry. I can send it to my dad. He does like
Wait,
self
for
therapy.
for a perceptual dominance,
Mhm.
she's the only one who's scared. I'm not scared at all.
Okay, no, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Okay, I just got it.
Oh, I just lost the document. Oopsie, give me 1 second.
What the fuck is that?
Sorry.
Sold apart himself.
Sorry. I was closing all the ends. Okay, anyone not ready?
Yep.
Find the damage on my script. Oh, also Katie Chan, speaking first. We negate Somalia's desire for independence embodies a global regime of post-colonial assimilation into the Westphalian world order that deems her politics to endless error replication, the construction of a Somali others continually retooled in an effort to reach a satisfying mode of nationalist politics. Lim 05. The post-colonial nation be seen as an authentic impetus for transition. The industrial was severely opposed as an accident rectified in the Western capitalist expansion leftover colonialism, European modernity, the promise of the incongruence with the statehood of nationhood, the representation of water modernity, the triumph of reason, superiority against the truth effect of the non-Western world, and systemically Western practices, who are going to participate in the civilized global community. The quarrel is not with the modernity, but the institutions of which are not modern enough. The nation thing appears to us as something that the others cannot grasp, and it's something that we must constantly refine. There are more colonial clubs that shackle conditions may be made an impossible object the structure upon it keeps excessive production going. And the national system will construct the other whom we can impute as excessive enjoyment. They want to steal our joy, we fantasize about the other enjoying at our expense. We experience dramatic excessive pleasure. And their project of recognition within the hegemonic political system cedes authority to the structures of violence that they identify, obscuring the underlying desires to dictate policies. McGowan 13. Recognition as the subject identities to experience themselves as available to bank confessions as the subject as actors in order to be articulating the level of signifier that acts this way. You will receive approval of the conscious desire to figure out what the other wants from it. The political projects regard garnering recognition remain with the confines of the order. They challenge the success will never provide the satisfaction recognition would bring not the sense of penetrating the secret, but the social authority disappointment seeing that the secret does not exist. The object is the subject complete sacrifice of the state and social authority not simply adhere to the redirect subjects away from the enjoyment of social productivity and the subjects who sacrifice with the expectation that will pay off everyday images of the most recognized subjects seem to be bombard us. Emphasis on visibility makes display of enjoyment the real thing, and recognition leads the subject eager for something else they always find insufficient. More than infinite struggle, and their notions of progress are a race to extinction. They master death, desire to master death, and loss of produces infinite cycles of violence and error replication while sanitizing life of what makes it worth living. McGowan 13. The judgment emerges the subject begins with speaking of being sacrificing as part of itself. The act of creation exists only insofar as it is lost. The loss of the subject doesn't have the insidious enjoyment of repetition. In initial loss, subjects engage in the self-sabotage because the loss enables the subject to enjoy the we turn to violence to gain our power to produce loss is the only source of enjoyment. The better things are enjoyed, more likely the death rate will degrade activity in the progress triggers the oppression that continues to hope and undermines the self-enjoyment rants linked to trauma. We pursue destruction. We cannot accept death because if we prioritize the ability to accept death, we would rid ourselves of human violence and humans. Death will die out. Recognition would demand we rethink of progress. Vote negative to embrace anxiety. Only a tolerance of others' enjoyments. Acceptance to alternative social and political structures. Break down the violent loops of modern policymaking to generate authentic relationships to the world. McGowan 13. Ethical package of psychoanalysis identifies and demands an embracing of anxiety from the encounter for joining the other. One cannot simply avoid it. The omnipresent enjoyment of the other offers an ethical possibility. One can tolerate others. We endure anxiety. We acknowledge the same the other. And the problem with contemporary tolerance is insistence on tolerating so far as the other seeks an enjoyment accepts the prevailing structures of the same identity enjoyment, but bars the authenticity. Tolerance subject to not retreat from anxiety. Our interpretation, that is a resolution affirmative, our object of study, and the role of the negatives to psychoanalytically intervene in the resolutions of estimates and underpinnings. Prefer one, applicability. Most decisions we aren't government policies, but orientations towards thought that turns policy questions before analyzing investment yields unique perspectives on the issues that differ from normative academic approaches. Two, very bad. Approaching the exclude arguments because they're strategically advantaged forecloses the value of debate to generate insight into subjectivity. Three, role of the judge. To be an analyst. Voting F cannot recognize Somaliland, but voting neg is a psychoanalytic intervention into the topic. Only the position of analyst opens up interesting pathways to critique discourse and develop approaches to politics unbounded by the dead ends of desires and language. Walker 94. Discourse of analysts offers only effective means of countering the psychological tyranny, exercising the language of controversy from the position and enacting their own anxiety. Analytic discourse is opposed to all mastery, engaging the flight for reading a discourse. The analyst is elicit a discourse in which anxiety is revealed, left out of discourse produces a definite necessity necessary for to separate from themselves from alien signifiers. Knowledge of the university forms a tautological system that truthfully shows the alternation of things that are opposed to the things to do and to bring resolution to be analysts. Reading the contrary discourse of culture to reveal the desire and most truthful embodiments of why they want is an enactment of fantasy, occupying a position as an object of others' desire. And Lacan's schema also puts us in a position and more effectively to counter or promote that force. 4. Clarity canalism. Policies to make Severus' desire to solve images of suffering represents an insatiable hunger for crisis. They'll squeeze the same moral high ground of catastrophe until they have to manufacture it themselves. Try or die for the intern. Baudrillard 2. We must denounce the moral exploitation of the poverty. Charity cannibalism is one of being oppressive violence, spectral poverty, and charitable compensation, waste of recurrence, and energize the lack of beliefs of the new world order. The people's because their adventure play on the civil crisis will complete only what's no longer able to feel in the Alaska strategies. With the catastrophe market recent crisis, the West will be forced to produce its own catastrophe to meet its need for the spectacle. They are not underdeveloped, only some of the turns of the dominant evolutionism. I can mark it.
Yeah, sure.
Do you prefer for me to unhighlight or delete?
Highlight.
Delete. Or can you just
Can you
highlight
make
it
it
in
red?
Because if we delete, then we're not deleting the right paragraph.
So I'm just gonna highlight the section, not like word by word. If that's okay.
Like you're just gonna.
Yeah,
write
just the whole
that.
section, right, yeah.
Okay. You cannot prep that. Cool, sorry. It's the same file name.
Is any of the offense non-topical? Or
No.
does not explicitly rely on the resolution?
This is all in relation to the resolution and our assumptions before we talk about the resolution. It's pre-fiat implicated onto offense.
Right. That's 6 seconds, by the way.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's preference.
I have you at 140, or sorry, 138.
I have
What?
114
Yeah,
plus 6.
we have 138 left. Sorry,
Oh,
we
okay,
saved
yeah.
10 left.
Oh, sorry, then, yes.
It'll be 2 off. Framing. And then.
So fun fact, things in the back of our workflow.
Oh, here,
I had a shirt. Oh. It's that.
I emptied my printer out and before we left. We'll get it. Okay.
Just look back.
I'm not really sure what's gonna.
I got it.
Well, hold on.
Sorry. What?
Well, up.
Oh, you desperately need a new laptop, please.
It should just, okay, just. I'm sorry.
No, you have to do my channel in case.
You don't think.
It's fine.
Not recognize where you
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to send it.
Who's gonna go first?
Oh, me, yeah.
Sorry.
He wrote the doc in verbatim, so I don't really
Wait, valid.
have access to it.
Wait, Blaskins. I don't.
Oh, do you guys want to Dropbox?
Well, we do, it's just like not in the Dropbox.
It's.
Wait, do you guys know how to use verbatim well?
Yes.
Depends.
Come help me, please, sorry.
There you go.
Download it.
Yeah, I really download it, can you download it from the.
Just copy these and send it on email to her.
We would rather it's a doc.
Oh,
Since the email
file
chain
application.
format's weird. But
Oh.
See, we're on Apple laptops, so that works a little different. But I think that's right. Two off, regular.
Yes.
What for me down the road?
two offering down the K or two offering down your case.
Core framing, case, and then down the K.
Okay.
Oh, we might
Where's
have to.
case? And then click all down for that. Push the paperclip.
Alright, can you hear again? Wait. I'm trying to get here. And then. Yeah, then
You know where it is.
I can't find it.
What happens when you just search for it? You can vote for
Yeah.
it. It's also ask, well, it's also because you're looking at it under your, like, click cancel.
Mhm.
Search them. Did you see it?
Yes.
Is it fine if it's in the body of the email?
At this
And then
point-
like we disclose it as a PDF later or a
If
Word
you
doc
send it in the
later?
body of the email, then you just give us a second to move it to Word doc, because it just like
Yeah.
she's trouble reading it if it's in.
Sorry.
So just send it in the email then. 'Cause- And then Katie, can you just, will it work if you do it in a doc?
No, but it's,
Will you not be able to read it? then?
I just might need it over.
You give us like 20 extra seconds for me to like.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I just.
No, you're so.
It's just a.
Like if you like need to like change it to a doc X or something.
Yeah, just give me a second. 'Cause I don't read it.
Yes.
And you click save. Okay. One, that one. So you said the response to the king at the top. Do you want me to start on A, interpretation?
Well, no,
No, it's in order.
that's about, that's enough.
Okay.
Ballot pick, off, framing, case. Yeah, I got it. That was 1 second. Okay, is anyone not ready? All the things we need to respond to the next speech, so that all responses must be in the next speech, therefore we get new responses in rebuttal. You should affirm their advocacy by vote for us to solve their entirety of their office before net benefits. A, the case value stand on its own, responding to it with judgment, and the ballot is a hollow validation that cites all political energy and draws them into oppressive gaze of the Academy Phillips 99. Taking speaking out of the streets and studying in the classroom, treating it as less as protest and as an objective analysis within the academy without addressing the critics should be examining in the first place. Are we to believe members are prepared to be bought in the arena for surveillance the effect is destructive to siphon energy into the academic practice, destroy the capitalist discourses recognition that take place. Be absurd that you should vote for us, but graffiti the RFD in favor of their case, which draws more attention to their epistemology and protest the structure of the debate. Sees competition, people losing the case, creates enmity, and that prevents community cohesion towards the issue and means that their case commodified, which prevents a genuine shift in communities' political orientation. D is a double bind, either the case value message is enough without the ballot, or it can't create real change because it's the only value determined by its victory. Then T, A is the interpretation debaters may only guard our office for hypothetical implementation of the resolution or from responses to non-topical arguments to clarify teams to be topical. B, violation, crossing T's, they get appreciated often. Procedural fairness is key to avoid burnout, debate is competition that necessitates limits and boundaries to ensure there is an enormous preference on one side. Blawinski 22, 751 participants in the study. Procedural fairness negatively correlated with academic burnout. We controlled for demographics. Procedural fairness negatively predicted the academic burnout. Explains 27% of variability. Being fair, bolster engagement, including dedication to academia, greater involvement, engagement, and committed fairness decreases burnout, which includes low self-efficacy, exhaustion, cynicism, and lack of meaning. D are the voters. Fairness. A is losing unfairly turned people against the K, which prevents spillover. B, the round wasn't fair to begin with, which means we can't test their method is good, and your ballot should correct that. C, we can't engage with zeros all education of the K. D, hack against them if fairness doesn't matter. Education is the only portable intrinsic value of debate and the only reason schools fund the activity. Drop debater wins in the loss of determine the direction of the activity. RBI's created chilling effect incentivizes good theory debaters to be abusive insight theory, knowing they'll get a free win. Framing. The rule of the ballot is to determine the truth or falsity of the resolution. The app must prove it true, and the next must deny the truth of resolution constituted and truth testing is constitutive. A resolution is written on the ballot. Every tournament registration rulebook and the NSC handout explicitly labels that it has the station point of class because it's intrinsic to the activity. B's burdens are written on the ballot to affirm, to prove, and to negate to prove false. Binding is every argument concedes the validity of truth and it asserts its own truth, and is in the process of justification must be written as it is true. That outweighs A, jurisdiction. The judge is contractually bound by the constitutive rules of the activity. If we win, truth testing is intrinsic, is equivalent to speech time declaring a winner, which means the judge doesn't have the authority to change the rules once they've entered the round. B controls the internal link to pragmatics. Because the rules are the basis for predictability and prep, even if another model of debate would theoretically be preferable, as the internal link determined by the fact that we operate under the assumption of this model. C is dignity and abandonment of the rules establishes a prior engagement in an activity. It's disrespectful work that students are prepared for under the assumptions of those rules, and therefore is an intrinsic violation of their status as a competitor. Case. Fishery conflict is example after clear maritime law enforcement Act 24. Right, the ocean temperatures are causing fish stocks to migrate, IUV fish and climate change compel the risk of international armed fishery conflicts. Small coastal incidents become more frequent where the Horn of Africa, the highest risk of fishery conflict. Law enforcement and agencies would enforce easy but often fail to do so due to institutional instability. Clarity recognition allows for regional diplomacy with establishes legal clarity over jurisdictions. 421. Greater stability, clarity in Somaliland relationship would achieve Somaliland chief focus would be able to assist Somalia with its negotiations. Negotiations result Somaliland status would address having jurisdictional and security issues. The African Union can compel Somalia to negotiate. On the K, policy focus is key to successful political movements, abstract ideology, established political will, and destroys coalitions. William 15. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Hard to build a movement when you are circumspect about a definitive path, eliminating those socialist people want to know what your end game before they support your cause. Otherwise, individuals become celebrity activists. Efforts will do nothing more than embolden exclusive liberalism. Therapy, psychoanalysis, and the anti-political establishment destruction of existing ideologies. We can't explain what explain society or offer alternative. Lesson 16. Dynamics by the psychological and the political theorists succumb to the tendency to collapse the structural and the psychological and miss the ways in which political change draws into the dynamics from the psychoanalytic couch. Psychoanalysis offers a snapshot for undoing or destruction of attachments is not the same in many be at odds with political mobilization. Studies don't support death tries of replical tests are impossible. Vague variables are too vague to operate. Health checks 12. The problem with psychoanalysis comes from and drive death that have not been corroborated by previous observations and replicable tests. cut the last card
And
and,
then at that.
and then at test, like the holocheck card at
Yeah.
tests, and then the last card altogether.
Are we all good for open cross?
I prefer not open house. Yeah, cool. I'll take the first question. Time starts now. Why is pre-fiat not topical?
It is, it just creates a skew for us, which is bad.
Wait, but you
The
didn't.
rules
oh,
say-
top-
the
wait,
rules
so
say-
it is topical?
You just said it is.
Like
It's
extra
cool.
topical.
It's extra topical, it's
So-
different.
so
It
what's
says
the
that
difference
the
between
interpretation says that all of your
What?
offense must derive from the hypothetical implication of
Okay,
the, if,
sure.
and if you read it first.
Wait, let's go back to your,
Let's talk about, I
wait,
actually wanna
no,
talk
I'd
about
like to go,
psycho.
I'd like to go.
How do you know that psychoanalysis is true?
I'm not gonna answer your question until you let me.
Well, I mean, you just, I answered your question already.
Okay, sure, please ask your question again.
How do you know that psychoanalysis is true?
Because it's our innate desire. We can only understand if it's true by doing psychoanalytic interventions, which is why you guys don't believe it's true, but because we are doing a psychoanalytic intervention and thinking about the ways we actually perceive ourselves as policymakers, and our innate desire to feed the ego per Lacan's thesis is the reason why we are able to know
That's
psychoanalysis.
entirely circular.
What?
That's entirely circular.
No.
You say that psychoanalysis is true
We,
because we
okay,
intervene
sure,
to
you wanna know how
determine if it's true.
psychoanalysis is true, is because like one of our the resolution is literally a desire for us to help someone else in their state of need. That is literally what your fishing contention concedes.
What?
Your
Just because
fishing
we wanna
contention-
help people means that we all wanna die, doesn't make any
That's
sense.
not the
Wait,
idea
that's
of
not what the doctrine
psychoanalysis.
is or with psycho. What we're saying is that your desire to help people doesn't actually interrogate like why you want to help them or why you're afraid of the other or stuff like that. The desire to recognize from only land comes from running away of the lack that they're experiencing because they're experiencing lack, and instead of interrogating why that is or why they're experiencing difficulties or
Why don't
why
we
they're
do
looking
that?
towards violence.
Well,
or
we
they're
would
Wait,
say-
we literally are. We're saying that
You're-
we're saying that
Why
they
can't we
are
do both?
experiencing
That's
a
not
lack
a
of
term
motivation
which we'll
because of
respond to in rebuttal, but you can't do both because your desire to eliminate the anxiety of the enjoying other makes embracing that anxiety unstable and prone to
Wait,
failure.
How do you
Okay,
know that
you're-
that's true? Like none of this is actual falsifiable. You're just Lacan is
I
sort
mean-
of just asserting things that, oh, we have these
Lacan
crazy
Will
death drives,
read
but it
evidence
is
on this saying that it's
is not falsifiable.
I mean, also
In
this is cased, I mean, I think we have more than enough than an opportunity to read it in rebuttal, given that you guys were like, oh, we can redo stuff in rebuttal too.
I just don't understand how any of this is falsifiable.
Well, I mean,
It seems
well,
like
it's
Lacan is
not-
just saying something.
Read the evidence, I don't think it's
Mm,
necessarily
I
How
mean,
can
required.
you possibly do
We
that?
can give speech right now in cross, I don't think that's necessary.
I'm asking you to explain the thesis of your case and why it is
We
true.
can
You
look
can't
at
be like, we're
different
gonna do
places,
that.
like colonization is literally an act of our desire to help or benefit the other, literally like religious passings of onto like indigenous communities and trying to convert them into Catholicism or different forms of religion is literally an act of Lacan's thesis of psychoanalysis.
How do you know?
How do I
This
know?
is
Because
entirely
it's
circular. You're just asserting that psychoanalysis is true. Like my psych teacher literally like talking about this and said psychoanalysis. I asked him about psychoanalysis because I was curious, and he says,
Well,
it
I
really is
mean,
not
I don't think you
falsifiable at all.
brought your psych teacher here, you could just be asserting something, we would say, look to our evidence that does the actual analysis about rational thought and the theses behind it, but that's wrong.
Okay, we're gonna just take some money.
Pausing prep, or taking flex, sorry. What is the truth or falsity of a resolution?
If the resolution is true or not.
What makes it true?
What makes it
Like,
true
what,
if
what,
you
what makes something true?
prove-
Like, it's
If
a
you prove that they
statement.
should do it, so.
So we should
So
prove that we
affirmative.
should do it, like proving that the affirmative is a good idea.
Because that's what you guys need to do.
And our idea is to say, no, you're wrong.
That's just. true,
Yes, we're on the affirmative. Yes. that's
Okay,
topic.
cool, continuing prep.
Topical debate.
It's fine, right?
Yeah.
Cool. 154 left.
Okay, I'm gonna send. Hold on.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna take it to you.
Okay. Sure.
There's some-
I know.
Actually. I'm gonna take it. Sorry.
Okay, August 10th. Or, yeah, we can review that. Order. Well. That's right. Okay, let me know when everyone gets the doc, send a doc back, stuff for everyone, the order's gonna go. The ballot pick and the perms, then it's gonna, I'm actually just gonna be straight down their doc. That's pretty much. Let me know when I'm done. I have it. Okay. Is anyone not ready? Great. I'm just gonna start on my first order. Start on the top of the ballot. One, every link is a DA to the perm. Their desire to eliminate the anxiety and the enjoying other makes embracing that anxiety unstable and prone to failure. But two, the perm is a liberal tolerance of the other only if they conform to the Western social order proves its conditional acceptance of anxiety that fails. Then three, no net benefit, we impact on their what I see and model debate, which makes its inclusion into the critique violent. Then all on they tell you that the case value lands on its own and it's high. Basically, they tell you that the ballot is bad because people aren't actually listening to it. No, when the ballot is good because it spreads our advocacy of doing psychoanalytic intervention, which means that people continue to do psychoanalytic intervention. This is important. Then they tell you that you should graffiti the RFD in favor of the K. There's no reason why you should vote for them and then graffiti the RFD in favor of the K. If you evaluate their truth testing and you agree with the critique, that means you automatically go negative. On competition, and people listen to the K doesn't necessarily create enmity. We've lost to lots of arguments and then started agreeing with them. There's no warranting here. On the double bind, the case value in the message is this just isn't warranted. We say that the case value in the message is unique with the ballot, and that's how you spread things in the debate space because people are able to see what is being read and then actually undergo psychoanalytic intervention themselves. Then go to theory. At the top, theory is fascist. Their emphasis on recognizability is a fascist effort to marshal speech and identity into concrete categories, crucial into the can impact with their shell. B407. The effort of definition ends in frustration because the object needs to get away the obsession to find is common to fascism, fascism, talking about directive, the obsession with identity, belonging, origin, recognizability, the pressure of fascism to identify belonging to a community, origin is an illusion, identity does not exist. The more identifiability, comprehensibility, origin are for sure, the more it becomes a need to identify on the point of discussion. Then go to T proper. One, we roll with the judge up layers because critical educators have a responsibility to set the topic free from its constraints. But then we meet our methodological efforts as a result of interrogating the as instead of doing. When you vote negative, you are actually not doing the F because you're doing psychoanalytic intervention, which means you are not succumbing to the desires that we or the desire to leave the lack that we talk about, and it's literally all about smaller. But then we describe a way to why you shouldn't do the resolution and skip the next response, and then don't vote or skip the next two responses. But then counter both teams will suffer a methodological approach to understanding the topic. We made they don't vote negative. One, activism, more politics deliver and generate creative responses to the forms of repression. The topic asks us a question that allows us to challenge ways power operates, which deliver to education and other interpret. We only debate from narrow one-sided angles, gesture ability to learn diversity from debate. Three, royal politics, their interpretation forces arguments into political conformity, which means the creative potential of our strategy. Narrow conceptions of policy making are incapable of radical transformations of society, instead culminating in fascistic conceptions of violence. First, 10. Political theory derided the efficacy of activism by forcing the conflict into reductive alignment. One major task is to escape entrapment majoritarian discourse, non-institutional action has been weakened by a state apparatus comprised of research, teaching, and parliamentary politics. In use of heterodox political eruptions and the official politics strategy of containment, regarding according to the paradigm of participatory rule of subversive powers contained by civil society, actor constantly at risk of being appropriated. Cut the card there, but then foreground, they force us to defend a hyper-specific and narrow form of the topic, which punishes us for reading philosophical arguments and makes it impossible to go negative on topic where all the policy proposals are written by the David Root. Then the lactate, their desire to fulfill what we could have constructs the same other archetype scenarios talk about as they constantly been to rob them of a topical debate. They lock into cycles of repetitive policy making that makes progress impossible. That's Zizek. Then on the truth testing thing, this is just asserting that you should vote neg if you disagree with the resolution. We would see that we're still able to have offense under that framework, because if you disagree with the resolution, you are believing that there is negative offense here, because we shouldn't do it if the neg means that it's bad for psychoanalysis. We're not able to help. We would also say that the role of the judge uplands first, because all the warrants we just gave on why critical education is worth to actually have better policy making in the space. When you keep following the NSCA rules, you don't actually have good policy making. We would say that fairness is certainly not unique, but education is the only portable skill of debate, which means to prioritize education. You have to have us get out of better policy, have better policy making, get out of stasis. But then go to psycho proper. First, they tell you that policy focus is key to successful political movements, but this concedes all our analysis. When we have policy focus, we are continuously racing towards extinction because the death drive is the idea that we can somehow overcome death. We keep trying to do that. We run away from the lack, and instead of embracing anxiety, that means political movements always fail. That's why we still see violence. And they tell you that psychoanalysis is anti-political. Yeah, it is. It's the whole point. We're telling you that the political system is bad, that we instead to actually interrogate it because the current political system is completely structured around running away from the lack. And they tell you that falsifiability. But one, winning a link through psychoanalysis is relevant in the context of their one ICR. Authors are far more specific, but the two best studies pre-work theory, Posado 10. Last particle functions correlate with Lacan's wall of order, the right with the imaginary used more for language as in Lacan. Neurostage shows right brain attunement between the mother and the child shapes emotional and perceptual pathways in relation to others. The cell shifts through language development into the left brain recognition, and one space can be lost when anesthetics were demonstrating the imaginary perception of the ego. Brain imaging find areas are fundamental in behavioral choices in unpredictable situations. Brain response with theatrical representations and performances. Less than 10% of brain activity is conscious, the rest of all is unconscious agents, and even if we're not science or practices empirically active, their studies are cherry-picked. Activity 18, increasing high-quality control trials, meta-analysis, and stomach reviews assessing psychodynamic psychotherapy, reported effects as the largest other evidence-based therapies, contradict the widespread belief. Cut the card there.
Where you got the last card?
After widespread belief.
And where is that the one card that you like cut a card when you were talking? What card was that? Where did you cut it?
It's Spursky.
Yeah, it's Swirsky, and I can send a mark to you on right to tell you.
Uh,
Or Swirsky, I cut. I think after critical attitude.
After activist citizenship, mass participation falls within the desire for fascism and idealistic commitment of
Yeah,
activist
okay.
citizenship.
You can mark it either critical attitude or citizenship.
what's that line called?
I was one like this big, but I had like 6 seconds left.
Is that right?
I had like 10, but
Yeah, fine.
no, it was fine.
Everybody ready?
Is there an order?
Oh, yes.
No, there's
Um,
not.
My bad.
Psycho and then down or dog. So psycho, ballot pick, top candidate, if you're tested. Actually, you know, I'll grab that. Top level on the case. Psychoanalysis is a pseudoscience. They've keep on asserting keep asserting the lack and the death drive and Lacan, but they've not given you a clear warrant on why this is actually true, or they've not explained their studies or implicated to why this proves that the death drive is true, just that empirically because it exists, it exists. All of the reasoning on this argument is circular, and if by the end of the round you cannot clearly explain how this is falsifiably proven true, it means it means that we should just give up. We should give up and be devoid of all policy making. You should not vote for them. Okay. The first argument that we are going for is that policy focus is key. They just say the policy focus fails with no actual warrant. We will make the argument that broadly policy focus is good and that it can include the psychoanalysis. But in this instance, they've made the claim that you can only do psychoanalysis and not policy making, where our interpretation is a lot more expansive and allows for broader change. Secondly, we would say broadly, policy focus is good because it can actually intend intrinsic bad things like racism that can actually spill over outside the debate space. Well, psychoanalysis would say that trying to prevent racism is just an option of filling the lack, which is bad, and an independent reason to reject this argument because it trains us to be violent in and outside of the debate. The second argument that we'll go for is that studies do not falsifiably prove that psychoanalysis is true. They read 2 new studies. It just says that there are studies about Lacan and like paths between the brain, but it's not specific on the question of the death drive or psychoanalysis. And just says that there are studies that have proved this, but our evidence is a meta-analysis of all these studies. It says that holistically they are not replicable and they keep on producing different outcomes, which is why it is not feasible and holistically a pseudoscience that does not not make any sense. And like nobody actually like thinks that psychoanalysis is true, who's actually in literature, which is why we would say political activism isn't that better. The ballot pit. You should affirm the entirety of their advocacy, but still vote for us. They've read reasons why voting for them or affirming their advocacy is a good idea, but none of them are actually tied to the ballot. That is our argument, that you should affirm their advocacy and allow their advocacy to spread, but you should not vote for the ballot. We'll go for 2 net benefits. The first argument we'll go for is that when you lose to this argument, you're inherently turned against because you're angry that you lost to it. They give it some anecdotal argument about how like sometimes they've lost an argument and end up agreeing with it. That is not true. There's definitely a reason that when I lose to an argument, I will not internalize. And I will be angry because I lost to this. Which prevents political activism from actually uploading and creating any real change. The second argument we'll go for is that making these arguments in debate is bad because it saps political will away from actual policy advocating, because you think that you've done enough in the world, which is just a conceited argument and up layers because it affects our actions outside the debate space, which inherently outweighs the scope because all their benefits are only intrinsic to debate. On topicality, except the interpretation, debaters merely got often from the hypothetical implementation of the resolution or from responses to non-topical arguments to clarify team should be topical. They read this fascism DA, but it's just about like identity and recognition. None of it is actually specific to T, or so when they make new implications, usually reject it, or at least give me new responses. The second argument that they make is that the role of the judge up layers. Our argument, they've dropped all the words why fairness is a prerequisite to their advocacy, i.e., for us to actually engage with the K and make actual response and to actually engage with the K and the framing. The round needed to have been fair in the first place. So you should prioritize that. Group all the we meets. It is not because like it's tied to the resolution at all. That doesn't matter. Our argument is that because they have pre-fiat office, it ultimately skews us out of the round, which is on net a bad thing, and increases the prep burden so much that causes a massive amount of burnout. They say that potential abuse is bad, but they're literally breaking you on this. And obviously, if the model is, we should export a good model. Literally consider all the reasons fairness comes before their argument, and have completely misunderstood the T-shell and vote there.
Cool. Do you want to question?
Yeah, let's just go for it.
Okay,
1, 2, 3, start now. You're gonna die. Okay, cool. I'm ready for open.
Yeah, we can start time now. You can take the first question.
Okay. Yeah, what's the fascism DA argument?
The fascism DA is just effectively saying that when you try to have recognizability and like force things into the boxes of the topic, that means that you're marshaling speech and identity and trying to put them into categories, which means that that's bad for fairness. Like trying to put identities into categories and forcing people to conform to these norms is probably bad.
You're trying to put the topic also into a box.
No.
We've made an analysis of the topic, which is why
Wait, our whole thing is not.
Yeah, so that's what my argument is, that what like
how is
that's
an analysis
completely arbitrary. I mean, that's my argument. That's completely arbitrary to say like when like you're putting something into a box just because you want.
Well, you just put us into a box. What's the difference?
Just tell you, like everybody always puts everybody into a box because everybody has like.
So that's abiding by speech, like when you guys abide by speech times, you inherently like are in a box, you're like following NSA rules.
So then sorting in boxes is okay.
What's
automatically sorted out?
What's the difference between abiding by an NSA like rule that's the speech time versus abiding by an NSA rule that's all your offense has to be garden off the topic?
Because the NSA rule that all your offense has to be garnered off the topic isn't really specific, and we should be able to challenge NSA rules if you had a good warrant as to why it should be challenging speech times. I mean, that's a receptive argument to make, like, you have to challenge norms, because otherwise that's what the BFO 07 indicates, is that you're continuing to try to identify and box everything in, and you don't want movable norms, which is what psychoanalysis wants, then that's bad.
Okay,
Um,
cool. Let's talk about, let's talk about what you said on psychoanalysis. Can you explain to me your response on broad or intrinsically bad because psycho is an option filling a lack?
I don't think I ever said that.
Oh,
What do you-
okay, so whatever your 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth and fifth response were.
Fourth and fifth response is that psychoanalysis pretty much is a search that we should give up, which is bad.
Well,
Wait,
wait,
when
what
is it a search
are
that
we
we should
giving
give
up?
up?
What are we giving up?
Like
Trying to resolve any
the
policy.
ability,
so
the ability
why-
to fill the lack,
so
and
why is
ultimately an
policy-
arbitrary distinction to where you can say, that anything or trying to resolve any bad is trying to fill the
Wait,
lack.
are
You
you
trying to
not-
stop racism is trying to fill the lack, which is bad.
How
It
is
literally
trying to
means
stop
that we cannot do
racism trying to stop-
anything
trying to
for
fill the lack?
what?
How is trying to stop racism trying to fill the lack?
Because there's a lack of like non-racism. Like that's what I'm saying is that you're like, it sounds silly obviously when I say it,
Just
but it's
because
because
you
your
can't-
K is silly.
Just
Well,
because you can't understand the K does not make it silly. I'm
Yeah,
happy
I
to.
understand.
If there's a lack of equality between races, we shouldn't not try to solve that.
No, we should. try to
Wait,
solve
the way
that
you
through
solve that is by
psychoanalysis.
getting
The
rid of the
whole
way,
reason there's
the
a
way
lack-
you get rid of them is by getting rid of the colonialist perceptions that Lacan has identified. Our evidence indicates that in our desire for current politics and the current way we structure politics, we end in a feedback loop that always creates oppression in the first place.
The whole reason we see racism and colonization is because the dominant group has like constructed the idea that they want to overcome the violence and death caused by people of color because they're not doing
Yeah,
psychoanalytic
that's
You
intervention.
can't resolve
That's
that.
the limb.
You
of-
can't
The
resolve
whole point is
people's
we can.
psychologies.
If you
That's
open your
wait,
mind to
racism is not an
psychoanalysis, you
inherent
would.
psychology, but that's
No,
close.
I wasn't saying that.
Sure, 37 seconds.
Sorry.
Seconds left, I guess it'd be fine. Order's gonna be. Ballot pick. Neg, or sorry, ballot pick neg, topic county show. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't, you're on the other side. That's just- Okay. Okay. Anyone not right? Once again, it's ballot pick. The neg, then top. Let's get to the ballot pick. The only thing they extend is the perm. However, the perm do both. However, they've conceded that our rejection is uniquely counterintuitive to their acceptance of the perm. You cannot do both because you have to reject the structures that they have to like rectify or that they like legitimize. That means that you automatically vote there because you have to do the neg first to reject the symptoms, and then we're able to better analyze policy structures, and that's why you have to do the neg and the app. But then they say then they've conceded the role of the judge, which is the best best answer like epistemological underpinnings and best create ethical resistance through psychoanalytic intervention. That is clean conceded around. That means that automatically the role of the judge influences the role of the ballot, which means you automatically have to vote there. But then your role of the judge is also to be an educator, which means the only way you can educate is when we do psychoanalytic interventions, which will challenge our assumptions about the debate space in the first place, but also it's a consequence of what we actually think about the resolution. But then
Applying it to the ballot is bad, but there's no warrant in here, and then
also they turn they turn us against the ballot. However, they've otherized us versus them, which is automatically linked to the K because our analysis is that by otherizing ourselves, you automatically enemize yourselves, meaning you've essentially told us that we have to be solved by your ballot in order to save progress. That is not our analysis. process our analysis, we need psychoanalytic intervention, so we don't create these methods of saviorship. But then also on policy sapping, first, we argue that policy is bad. I'll get to that in our case, but then second, we reframe policy. It's not that we're getting rid of policy completely, it's that we're getting rid of the colonial structures that psychoanalysis critiques. But then go to psycho. First, Somaliland's desire for independence embodies the regime of post-colonial assimilation, dooming them to endless error replication. The APS project of recognition cedes authority to structures of violence that they identify, and their notions of progress, like the ones that they just described, ignore subconscious life, ignore race to extinction. The desire to massive death and loss produces infinite cycles of violence that fall under colonial structures that we have never been able to fully rid ourselves of. And the role of the negative is to be a psychoanalytic interventionist, and the role of the judge is to be an analyst in that role and be an educator. All to the line by line here. First, they say that psycho is a pseudoscience. No, we have identified that it is a theory. It is a actual practice, and it's not a science. It's not a science. It's an ideology that we follow. At that point, you can analyze it as an ideology and an analyst. But then second, they said that we are avoiding all policy. No, we are reconstructing what policy looks like. I couldn't tell you what that looks like because we haven't done the psychoanalytic intervention yet. But then they say that it's intrinsically bad. First, cross-apply the explanation I made in cross-ex. When we have colonial exploitation and the desire to put people under our religion, that is the literal desire to save people. It's the savior mindset that we literally critique and prove that it is true. But then on false viability claims, they don't even extend them. But then also we would say that their desire to otherize us is an automatic link into the K, and they consider that they have any links into our K. It's an automatic vote for the CG. But then we argue the studies is about the psyche and proving through other means of neuroscience that is actually an ideology that we should first intervene on. But then go to T. First, they've conceded that fairness is non-unique. At that point, you automatically vote for our counter-inter. Both teams must offer a methodological approach to understanding the topic. We meet, they don't. Vote for neg. First on activism. Our politics spill over gender creative responses to form oppression. The topic asks us the question, but that's the thing. They've conceded the royal politics DA, that their interpretation forces arguments of political conformity, which ruins the creative potential of our strategy, which automatically leads to our education claim. That means you automatically drop the debater there.
Yeah, we'll run that.
Wait, how much time do you want?
9 seconds.
Ballot pick. T. Okay.
What?
Do the K version. Great.
Ballot pick T and then the K.
Yep.
Is anyone not ready? Their last speech dropped the Smith card to drop weighing of the net benefit of the ballot pick against the DA of the link. They dropped that we can't advocate for things like cycle because we feel like we've done enough of the debate space with the net better because of all of their benefits are solely intrinsic for debate. This leads into the role of the judge because it is the root cause, the best way to cause education outside of the ground and endorse certain methodologies. We'll also go for the argument that the ballot turns people against the K because when they lose to the K, they increase enmity of the K. That means there's no spillover, which is the only way that they solve.
Yes. Let's see.
Then just go to T. A, extend the interpretation. Debaters may only guard an offense from the hypothetical implementation of the resolution or from responses to non-topical arguments. B is a violation. Cross concedes they get free fiat offense. Procedural fairness. Key to avoiding burnout debate is a competition that necessitates limits and boundaries to ensure that there isn't an enormous crop burden on one side. Getting free fiat offense is bad because it skews us. Fairness. A, losing unfairly turn people against the K would prevent spillover. B, the round wasn't fair to begin with because we can't test their method is good and your ballot should show that. C, we can't engage with zero to all education of the K. D, hack against them because if fairness doesn't matter. They say that fairness is non-unique with no warrant and it's scale or more fairness is good if the round is more fair then it's like and then it's better. They've also conceded all of the fairness weighing that fairness is a prerequisite to all of the education that they create because if the round wasn't fair, we shouldn't have had the round to begin with because we couldn't actually engage. T determines if their arguments are true, and if the round wasn't fair in the first place, then we shouldn't have even had the round. Drop the debater wins and losses determine the direction of the activity. Weigh the entirety of politics against the K. First is scope. All of their benefits are insulated to the debate space. Politics can incorporate psychoanalysis with it, but their psychoanalysis always rejects politics because anything is filling the lack. Third, reform can't solve any material suffering. Fourth, politics are the way in which we determine if things are true in the first place, which means they prior question to determining if psycho is true or not. Fifth, filling the lack is entirely arbitrary and can be redetermined at any moment in time. Go to the K, they drop a piece of terminal defense in their last speech that says that studies prove that psychoanalysis is not true. It was not responded to in their last speech. Our evidence, they cite specific studies, but our evidence is a meta study of all of these studies that they cite and say that all of these studies are not replicable because they create new conclusions every single time. They're also non-falsifiable and non-replicable, which means they can't prove that any of these theories that they talk about are true. It's terminal defense. If no study can be replicated proving that their theories are true, then it doesn't matter. It's terminal defense. None of their studies are true. Nicholas, what else?
Keep going on about how if it's not falsifiable, then the entirety of the K. Like,
If it's not falsifiable, then the entirety of the K does not make sense, and you can't vote on it. Go back to T. Go back to T. All they extend is they extend a counterinterpret that says we should do a methodological approach because it increases activism. You can do activism through the practical implementation of the resolution.
Fairness is the best way to.
Fairness is the best way to something. Not really sure.
Cool, grand, not really sure.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready?
Yep.
Is creativity limitation a fairness voter?
Is creativity?
Is limiting my creativity in the space of fairness voter?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Why?
Well, how would that affect
Because
fairness?
it's
Because
not-
then I don't get to advocate for things I want. So like, if you think that me advocating for something that I really care about is really creative and non-topical, isn't that like skewing? Sure.
That doesn't stop you from losing it.
Exists for a reason, right? If I go to play basketball and I'm like, well, you're reducing my creativity.
Wait, so we
because I
can't challenge rules? You just said rules are good and bad for a reason, but the only way we can challenge if good
Yeah.
rules are good and bad is we get rid of the savior complex that we need saving from these rules and
Yeah, if
structures.
you wanted to be an activist, you could have gone spoken at a protest. The reason
I have. I was there last week. That's why another reason why I didn't go to Durham.
yeah, but you
Also,
brought up
advocacy
debate
doesn't
is
have to
inherently-
exist
you
at just a
brought that
protest.
debate is inherently bad for activism because it turns people against your activism. If you want to promote
That's not
activism
what
in a
we
way that
said.
makes people amenable to the activism, you should do it by increasing things like protests and speeches and stuff
Sure,
like that.
we would say that first, we respond to that, Monica extended, but second, it's because you have otherized yourself as an isolation, but we'll take a question. Or actually, sorry, I just asked. You could-
Why is voting for the K good?
Voting for the K is good because we do psychoanalytic interventions. It's a consequence of the resolution, both pre-fiat and post-fiat. It's not only just by thinking about it in this debate, but it's also after we don't recognize Somaliland as an international state, policymakers are supposed to reassert their assumptions through this embracing anxiety alternative.
I mean, we've been not recognizing Somaliland
I mean,
for a
you
while. and I say
haven't
Yeah,
made
but
this
you haven't
argument.
done the psychoanalytic intervention of the neg yet.
if we've not been doing Somaliland recognition for a while, why haven't we also done psychoanalysis?
This is a new implication. We would also say that it
I mean,
requires
your
us to
creativity question was.
We would
No, it's not.
No,
It's in
it's
royal
the
politics.
royal politics DA, but also second, we would say that rejection of the resolution is uniquely key for us doing this because we say, stop, let's think about it, and then do the psychoanalytic intervention because of our advocacy specifically. Also, I would say the fact that the round robin is screening this is probably more implications about post-fiat. You can take a question.
But, okay, sure, yeah, if the round robin is streaming it and people are already getting all of your education, why does it matter if you win the round?
Because people should know that the argument is
It
good enough.
matters
to
if
win.
we win the round because we've proved that the resolution is
It's
false.
true.
You shouldn't, or that the
False,
resolution is
false.
false. Yeah, because you shouldn't recognize Somaliland because that re-entrenches the colonial dynamics we talked
It's
about.
like when
The
I
UK
hear
is almost entirely post-fiat. We're still accessing all
It's
those
also
impacts.
if I hear something that's really bad but still wins, I'm like, oh, maybe these really, really good debaters are making something true and I should reassert my assumptions about it. But that can't happen if I lose the round on something that's really
You also
important.
look at it because you conceded that the role of the judge is to be a critical analyst and critical educator, which means the only way to do that is through our methodological
Not the
approach.
way.
You don't offer one.
Sure,
You
you
don't offer a counter.
You conceded that the
You offer a role of the ballot.
So much
judge
better.
Sure,
the
you
role of the ballot.
conceded the role of the ballot is to do psychoanalytic intervention. At that point, the round is over
Yeah,
and
but
that's
you
false.
conceded roll the judge up layers roll of the ballot, so your
Yeah,
roll of
our
ballot
role
is
is
the
the
Our role of the
But
judge
you
is to be a
didn't be able to-
psychoanalytic intervention.
Yeah,
We have
it's
prep.
wheeling into the judge.
Yo. We have prep.
We have 3 seconds.
Time starts.
Okay. It's gonna go. The K, the ballot pick T. Anyone not ready? Cool. I'm gonna start on my first word. Extend the K, Somaliland Society for Independence embodies a regime of post-colonial assimilation, dooming them to endless era replication. The AS project of recognition seeds authority to the structure of the violence they identify, and their notions of progress ignore the subconscious lacunae race to extinction. The desire to master death and loss produces infinite cycles of balance, and the role of the negative to silently intervene, and the role of the judge to be an analyst. The role of the judge has been conceded the entire round, which means you as the judge have to act as an analyst before you evaluate any role of the ballot claims. But then, let's go to their responses on the K. First, they tell you that they effectively just tell you that psychoanalysis is false and it fails, but they've conceded our response. We gave you 2 excellent studies that tell you that psychoanalysis has been proved medically. So since we've both done studies, these studies of it can be a wash curve, but then we've also made the argument that psychoanalysis and is a philosophy. It doesn't have to be a science. We've never claimed it was a science. We've claimed it was a philosophy and a theory of power and the way that the underpinnings of the world works. Now the responses actually interact with that, which means as long as you buy the warranting that we are always trying to overcome death and always trying to escape from the inevitable, which is true, as literally seen through colonization that's been conceded the entire round, that the way colonial powers work is they're always trying to remove from the other and always trying to escape death. That's clear warranting. You can vote there. It doesn't have to be proven scientifically, but then go to the ballot pick. The net benefit has been conceded because remember, every link is a DA to the perm, and their desire to eliminate the anxiety of the enjoying other makes embracing that anxiety unstable and towards failure. We cannot do both because if we do recognition, we are not actually holistically embracing our anxiety. So there's no net benefit there. But then they say that people think they've done enough. There's no real impact here. You can't vote there. Instead, vote on our because you tell you it's literally a race to extinction. That's a post-fiat implication. You can vote there clearly if you don't want to evaluate this pre-fiat stuff. And there's no impact to people thinking they've done enough. But then go to T. Remember, the counter is both teams to offer a methodological approach to understanding the topic, and we make they don't. You vote neg on royal politics because their engine forces arguments in political conformity which remove the creative potential of our strategy. Their conceptions of policymaker, the incapable of radical transformations of science and culminating in fascistic acceptance of violence. On the fairness versus education debate, 1, we've made the argument that royal politics links into fairness because it makes people be acceptance of policies of violence, which is automatically worse for marginalized people. Then we've also made the argument that because of outside systems of power, the debate space will never actually be 100% fair, which is why you should prioritize. You drop the debate for set norms, but then you also always prioritize education because it's the only portable skill debate that's been conceded. You can't always solve for other issues of fairness, but you can always try to maximize education around the they'll get some education in the round, even if it was slightly unfair, and you prioritize also getting more arguments and better policymaking. Negate.
Will be any more questions about it? They did not extend a role of the ballot in the last speech, which means at least you should default to whoever did the best debating. Regardless, we're straight turning the case, so we're going to link in. It doesn't really matter. Okay, extend the ballot pick. Regardless of what they say about perms and disadvantage, they have not extended a reason why voting for them is actually key. They just say that it's post-fiat, but all the pre-fiat arguments I'm about to make will uplayer that into infinity. Okay. Extend the argument that you should affirm the entirety of their advocacy, except you should vote for us. It solves because they've dropped the Smith card. Because people feel like they've done enough in the debate that they have no political will to actually go outside and do these things and advocate for it outside of the round, which is a drop net benefit that is weighed against the entirety of the K because all of their benefits are insulated to the debate space. But all their benefits are insulated to the debate space. This is literally drop weighing coming out of rebuttal. All the responses are new in summary. It's a game over issue. Look at the way that you evaluate arguments is first on weighing. They've dropped the weighing on scope. That all the benefits of the K would be net better if it happens outside of the debate, which is the only real value. They say that all their arguments are like post-fiat, but like fiat is illusory, and they've not explained why any of their arguments matter. They just say there's no reason why political will matters. Obviously, advocating for things is good, and is that true? Okay. The next argument I will go for on the psycho K is the independent voter. They've dropped the idea that psychoanalysis means would ultimately ends up in the rejection of all politics. And we view everything as just filling the lack, which means that we can't stop active bads and we can't condemn and rejecting intrinsic bads like a racism, which is an independent reason to reject this argument, and that you should weigh the entirety of politics against this argument. Every good or bad is any possibility to collect against any bad like capitalism is rejected by psychoanalysis, which just outweighs the entirety of the K. Moreover, they've dropped the non-falsifiability argument that ultimately the reason why colonial powers do things is incidental and based on their incentives and not a psychological reason, which all these studies disprove, which is terminal defense on this argument, because the thesis of the K is that colonialism relies on psychoanalysis, which is proof false.
Good round, guys.
Good round.
Thank you for judging.
I'm taking the contest.
That was the same. Same relationship. Oh, actually, I guess methodological.
If you put the entire round on one paper.
It's kind of.